Hi, I'm Sarah Gonzalez. Welcome to the best part of your day.
Hi, Sarah. Hello.
How are you doing? Best part of your day, called The News and Why It Matters. Stu, what was the top story?
As the nation's foremost expert on the topic, I'd like to talk about Kanye West.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll talk about why that matters. Pat.
I think we need to discuss two of the greatest gubernatorial candidates in the history of this planet.
Okay. Jason.
Glenn has not been here the entire week to tell us how the global economy is about to crash and the world's going to spiral out of control. So I'm delivering on that today.
You're going to be Yay. Thank you. All right, Stu, Kanye West.
We were fascinated. We talked about this on radio a little bit today, of the transformation of Kanye West. We looked back at his opinion about George W. Bush back in the day after Katrina, and it seems to have changed a little bit about Republicans. Here's the clip from 2005.
Yes.
The destruction of the spirit of the people of southern Louisiana and Mississippi may end up being the most tragic loss of all.
George Bush doesn't care about black people.
Please call.
You might find it hard to believe he ad-libbed that line.
Wow.
Hold on.
Was not in the script.
Can we just play it one more time?
Oh, yes. I love
The destruction of the spirit of the people of southern Louisiana and Mississippi may end up being the most tragic loss of all.
George Bush doesn't care about black people.
Oh, we didn't get to see his eyes.
He's so
There we go.
He's like,
Such a proud moment for America right there.
It's just such a great clip because Myers is so good in it, and he just doesn't even attempt to make a transition from what he said.
Oh, because he's
That's
looking at a
Mike, but I
prompter.
will say this:
right.
George Bush doesn't care about black people. Doesn't even try it. It just dives right in.
You know he's looking at the prompter, so he's like, crap, do I read his line now, or do I...
And if you look at there's a longer clip out there that if you look, you can actually see Mike Myers' Adam's apple when he gulps. It's so big, you can see it move.
It's an amazing moment. And you think about what stemmed from that. I mean, we forget how badly George W. Bush was treated by the media and the left, just as badly, almost as badly maybe, at least as Donald Trump.
Well, he hated black people.
Yeah, I guess he hated black people. In fact, that event spawned a line of T-shirts that said George W. Bush doesn't care about black people, created by the group Color of Change, run by, at the time, Van Jones. One of his big entries into politics was that moment that you just heard. And as much as I love the podcast people, I really hope you watched it because that moment's so good with Mike Myers' eyes darting around the screen to see it. But he's changed his tune apparently about Republicans. At least one Republican, Donald Trump. He's doing an interview on some local radio station, and he goes into detail about what he believes about Donald Trump and whether he cares about black people.
I feel that he cares about the way black people feel about him. And he would like for black people to like him like they did when he was cool and the rap songs and all this and stuff.
WWE.
And he will do the things that are necessary to make that happen.
That's a really different taste. First of all, one of the things we're talking about is we don't think it's spit on the corner of his mouth.
We're trying to decide, is
We're
it
trying to
spit
figure it
or
out.
is it a toothpick?
Yeah, a couple
Hanging
times he
out?
rolls it quickly, and you can tell, I think it is a
Yeah,
toothpick.
I think it is.
Yes, so that's issue number one. If there's any reason, anyone doubting why that matters, I think it's blatantly obvious. But beyond that, it's interesting to see this change, because I think there he describes it in a way that's much different than the impression I had. We talked about the idea of maybe, he likes just to be contrarian and likes to kind of go against the crowd, get some attention. Maybe there's a chance he really does like some of his policies, though we've never really heard him express what policy he likes, other than maybe this sort of criminal justice reform vaguely around this one particular person. But more than that, there he seems to think that he understands Trump, where he's saying, if I go to, because Trump has a history, and you go back and you read some of the biographies that have come out lately about Trump, and you realize that when he was on The Apprentice, he was incredibly well liked among the African American community. In fact, one of the reasons why that show was so successful is it did so well with minority viewers.
And he kind of references it there because he's talking about how Trump was featured in rap songs and all that. And at the time he was a big deal.
Yeah, he really was. That was one of the strengths of The Apprentice as a show in the ratings. And so now that kind of went away as he started running for president, Kanye West has, at least he says he's found that way to understand Trump, in which he says he wants to be that guy. He wants to be the guy that people like. So if you go there, you give him credit, you give him love, you say nice things about him, he will do things that will try to make that happen. When you love Trump, he loves you back. When you don't like him, he doesn't like you.
There's something to that.
Yeah. And the reason why I think it matters is not just about the spittle toothpick controversy.
Although that might be the most important point.
Yeah,
I think it might be. But the thing that really freaks me out is at some point, Democrats could understand this. Maybe it's not just Kanye. Maybe some smart Democrat figures out that if they do this type of thing with Donald Trump, he's much more likely to work with you and do things. He is not, as much as he's built up as a fighter, he does like making deals. He does like when people like him. Imagine if Democrats started coming out and saying really nice things about him in public.
He'd want to please them.
He would want to please them. He'd want to open up a relationship. Yeah. Now, I hope that there are no Democrats listening to the program today, because this is not a theory I want them to test, because it's scary what the results could be. Because, as we know, Trump isn't a huge ideologue. He's not a guy that has these like hardcore foundational principles. He's much more transactional. And he's a guy that, while he's done some really good things, and some of the things have aligned with conservatism pretty well, outside of trade stuff, I don't think he has a real policy ground. He is more of a guy that looks for what he thinks might work on a particular topic. So hopefully the Democrats don't try that, but it's something I'm legitimately worried about.
Do you really think that is what they want? Because there are a lot of things that, they yell about and create division about, but, when they controlled the House and the Senate and the presidency, they didn't do any of those things.
Yeah.
So I question whether they really actually want to get along and get things done, or if they'd rather just yell and scream about things.
Yeah, maybe, and that could be it. That might be our saving grace, that they don't actually have policy goals that they really care about all that much, and don't even want to attempt this. They'd rather just raise money off of the anger, the addiction to outrage, as it were. And I think that's probably something that helps, because they could get a lot more done if they tried this. It might not necessarily help their prospects for 2018, or it might not help their prospects to win the next election, but it would help their prospects of getting something done.
Yeah.
Luckily,
the moderate goals. Not the more, Trump's not going to agree to abolish ICE.
No,
right?
no, he's not.
So.
But there's something there that they could probably get, and the bottom line is you don't want them. You don't want enough of that stuff to happen, because he could go down those roads. He's all the things that Democrats argue for, at least at one point in his life, he did agree with and saw that as a legitimate argument. You don't want him to be reminded of these things, and I hope they don't come and attempt this.
And it's the same theory on like world leaders, because if you see the same exact thing. If someone like, let's say, Putin compliments him, even if it's a very slight compliment, then he's going to lavish compliments on this person. He's going to be overly friendly with them. It's stupid. Like, you can be like Justin Trudeau, which publicly disses him, or like Macron or people like that publicly diss him, and you see the results. But if you're like a Putin, if you're a freaking North Korean dictator, you'll get him talking,
he praises
nicely.
him, yeah.
Right. I mean, some people say it's just statesmanship, whatever. I just don't think he's that very statesman-like. But it's what it is. You compliment the guy.
What do you want, Hillary?
You get something
Why
back
would
from
you
it.
say that? You want Hillary to win?
Hillary is not running for anything. She's retired.
All right, Pat, the two greatest gubernatorial candidates ever?
Yeah, either that or the Antichrist and the Wicked Witch of the West, or East, I guess it would be.
I can see how those would be confusing.
Yeah, it is confusing. They had a gubernatorial debate last night. It's always fun to see liberals eat their own. I kind of like it. And these two people, Andrew Cuomo and Cynthia Nixon, can't stand each other.
Yeah.
And they were really kind of going at it. Here's a look at some of the debate.
He used the MTA like an ATM, and we see the result. He has had 7.5 years to avoid this very avoidable crisis in our New York City subway, and he has done next to nothing.
Governor,
why would the next 4 years be any different?
Governor, would you like to respond to that?
My opponent lives in the world of fiction. I live in the world of fact.
let's just do a few facts, okay? The subway system is owned by New York City. The subway
MTA has been
system.
controlled by the state
Excuse
since
me,
1965.
Can you stop interrupting? Can you stop interrupting?
Can you stop lying?
Yeah. As soon as you do.
What?
So obviously an admission that yes, I am lying, and I'll stop it when you stop lying.
Back ever.
Terrible, absolutely terrible. I know you are, but what am I? Same to you, but twice as much more of it. It's nonsensical, but it's interesting to see them going at it like that. And who's telling the truth there? I have no idea, but they're both horrible. How grateful I am that I don't live in New York and am not faced with this decision. Now, there is a Republican in the race, but nobody knows who the heck it is, and he doesn't have any chance at winning. And so you're going to have the guy who says America has never been that great, and the woman who wants to bring total socialism to New York.
She's been endorsed by Democratic Socialist America, hasn't she?
Yeah, well, she's essentially, I think she is a Democratic Socialist, if not card carrying.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Right. She's basically running on that platform.
Yeah.
I don't know the truth about the subway. I will say I know it's not run by the state or the city. It's run by the rats. That's who runs the subway. But it's funny to see them just go back and forth like that. You know, the concept of Andrew Cuomo. And I thought this was really fascinating, talking down and saying, hey, don't interrupt me. Can you imagine if a Republican man acted? Remember when Donald Trump walked behind Hillary Clinton and it was this big controversy? Yes. Like, he didn't even say anything and he was just standing back there and it was this big deal. Like, I mean, I guess liberal men can scream at women and say, don't stop interrupting me. And I guess that's okay.
It's not sexist.
It's not sexist. There's no problems with it.
No toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
There.
I don't know if she has any chance to win. But I mean, I will say this about Cynthia Nixon, which I don't know that I would have expected coming into this. She held her own with good grasp of the issues. She doesn't seem like some celebrity who's just doing this because people recognize her face. She does seem to actually care about the issues. She does seem to be fairly, at least a little bit well read on the topics that they're talking about.
She didn't know Ocasio-Cortez it.
She did. Thank you. She did not Ocasio-Cortez it.
That's true.
Although her facts on socialized medicine seemed a little iffy.
Yes, to say the least.
Let's take a look at that.
Ms. Nixon, you are proposing that New York State move to a single-payer healthcare system, also known as Medicare for All. Everybody would be covered. A Rand Corporation study found this would cost $139 billion. That's almost the size of the state budget. It would double it. How do you plan to make this happen?
So the Rand Corporation also said that it would be a tremendous savings for New York State. We can insure all of our people here by a single-payer Medicare for All system. We can do it better. We can do it cheaper. We can do it with no co-pays, with no deductibles, and 98% of New Yorkers would pay less for their health care than they do now.
The same study also found this would nearly triple the state tax rate for an average family.
I like this.
From 6% to 18%. That's a family making roughly $100,000 to $150,000.
If you look at, say, what a family now who earns, let's say, $49,000, the cost of health care for that family is $17,500. The cost between the individual and the employer would be a sixth of that. What we would have is a payroll tax in order to pay for it. It would be taken out of people's payrolls the same way Social Security is taken out. It would be an overall savings for 98% of New Yorkers, and it would be an enormous savings for employers here. It is seen that it could create 200,000 jobs because employers would no longer be responsible for providing health care for their employees.
Clapping.
First of all, I love the fact it's going to double the New York State budget, and somehow that's a big savings to her.
Right.
It's also a savings. Wait, if my bills go up by double, that's not saving me money.
But it's saving you money. It could be triple.
Right.
And so it's saving you from being triple.
But it's going to triple the taxes. So it's the budget's going to double. Your taxes are going to get tripled, but it's going to save you money.
It's going to save you money.
I mean, I guess she's trying to say that the difference between what we pay plus what the government pays plus what the businesses pay into healthcare would all instead be spent by the state, and theoretically that number would be lower.
And that number,
we all know in
the
practice
state comes
that
from
never
magic
happens.
pixie dust. That's
Yes,
where the
right.
state gets
Yeah,
their money.
of course, yeah, they
Not
do.
from the people.
Yeah.
Gavin Newsom in California is proposing single
Same thing.
payer, yes, and covering illegal immigrants, everyone.
He bragged
and-
about it.
Yeah, he did, and he said he's not naive about it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Right.
I mean, obviously he's not naive about it. He did it really well in California, where he was. He was in San Francisco.
Yeah, look at the shape
So
they're in. They're in
right, San
great
Francisco's
shape.
doing really well, and it's only this is good news. It's only going to cost $400 billion per year. So we can add that to all of the millions of dollars that they're spending on poop patrol.
Yeah.
And San Francisco will be in really good
Hey,
shape.
it's great. If states want to experiment with this, go right ahead. Just
Yeah,
don't
except
mess
for
with
the
federal
fact
government.
that when they collapse, they're coming to us to
Right,
fix it.
right.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
All right, we got to go back in a minute.
Look how much
The destruction of the spirit of the people of southern Louisiana and Mississippi may end up being the most tragic loss of all.
George Bush doesn't care about black people.
So I don't have to
All right.
write you a check, but you just take the money.
We're
from me.
on Captain Doomsday, please. The global currency crisis.
So we never,
Glenn Jr.
Right. We never really recovered from the 2008 financial crisis. It was just again more of that magic pixie dust covering it up, so it looked like that we did. So basically, all we did was really printed our way out of it. We kicked the can down the road. Well, what's happening now is actually that has contributed to record number. We just hit the record, I think, last month of global debt, which is now around $280 trillion. $280 trillion with a capital T. That's global debt. Absolutely insane. It's never been that high before. But now we're seeing, as we're starting to tighten monetary policy here, and we're starting to lower rates, the dollar is going up, but everybody else's currency is going down. We are on the threshold of a major currency crisis all over the world. Just today, Argentina, and I guarantee Glenn would have been leading with this today on radio if you were here. Just today, Argentina had to hike up their interest rates to 60% because their currency was in a massive free fall.
Whoa.
Wow.
60%. It's now, their currency has now gone down 45% against the US dollar. Absolutely insane. They had to go out and say, look, we're basically going under, and they asked for an emergency loan from the IMF just to keep going. That's how bad it is there. Argentina is the number 3 economy in Latin America. Number 3. The number 1 is Brazil. They also, you look today, their currency is also in a free fall. They're the number 1 economy. So the number 1 and 3 economies are in free falls.
Wow.
Major problems. Also throughout the world, again, just today, Turkey has been also is in a major currency crisis. They've also lost around 40 to 45% of their value against the dollar since January. Now this is crazy. So between now and July of 2019, they have to pay off over $150 billion in foreign debt. $150 billion. That's over a quarter of their GDP. And right now, I don't think they even know how they're going to pull that off. So in the meantime, all their currencies are going to continue to go down. India also is having similar problems. This is breaking out all over the world. Our dollar is going up, theirs are going down, and they can't pay back the loans.
So you're saying this is good news, right? That sounds really good.
What's crazy to me is like no one is really talking about it. Yeah. I know Glenn had somebody on from Geopolitical Futures, I think, down in Austin, it was a couple weeks ago or so, and he talked to him for a while, and he was like, "Yeah," he goes, "This might be the most important thing that I talk about, or that we talk about all year long, because no one's really talking about it, and the global ramifications are going to be huge. And also, what's going on right now while this is happening? Trade wars are breaking out. I mean, I'm not saying that we are going to go down the toilet, but I'm just saying, we better start looking at this because this is getting really, really serious."
Yeah. While we're on the topic of foreign relations, tell us about the American soldier who pledged allegiance to ISIS.
Yeah, this story was important to me. Did you guys hear about this?
No.
So this story is really important to me because the FBI has taken a brutal beating over the past couple of years, really. And there are some amazing FBI agents that day in and day out, they're doing things that we don't even hear about. Here in Dallas, there was, just a few years ago, there was I think it was an ISIS or an Al-Qaeda inspired attack that was supposed to happen here in Dallas. They were going to blow up some fountains somewhere. And the FBI swooped in, did a sting, took him out, but hardly anybody. So that stuff happens all the time. Well, there was this U.S. Army sergeant in Hawaii, and he just pled guilty yesterday to pledging allegiance to ISIS and for planning attacks. He was going to take machine guns, I think, and go down to somewhere in Honolulu, like in the touristy areas, and shoot the place up. But the way they caught him was kind of interesting to me. So the FBI had been on him from the start. I don't know how they picked him out. They didn't say that, but they had been on him from the start. They actually got him to admit to them everything they wanted to, what he was planning. They got him to make his pledge of allegiance on camera, and the FBI agents were there undercover and saw the whole thing, got it on tape while he pledged allegiance to Baghdadi. And they also got him they caught him trying to turn over classified information, which included like where our jets were going to be in certain times. I mean, serious stuff. Our order of battle, like our tanks, all that stuff that we had in ISIS areas, controlled areas. Some serious problem. Serious information he was going to turn over. But the FBI caught everything, and now he's going to prison, hopefully, for a really long time. So good on the FBI.
And we're not reading about this.
I found this in one article. It was like in the Daily Caller, and I was like, I cannot believe. Another angle on this, though, too, is ISIS has been reported on that they're down and out. They've lost their territory. They're gone, and everything that I have seen. I was in Iraq a little over a year ago, and everything I saw was like, this is going to get very dangerous from the things that they've learned while they've had their caliphate. Now they're going underground, and everything that they've learned, they're now going to start teaching people like this army soldier. Like, how do you run, a guerrilla movement? Well, this is everything that we've learned. Here's the tools of the trade. Now do it in Hawaii. Now they can do that all over the world. So this is going to be very, very dangerous going forward.
Yeah. All right. We'll be back in a minute. In-N-Out Burgers committed the cardinal sin. So bad. I cannot believe that they did this. Apparently, it came out that they donated to the GOP.
Oh my God, that's bad.
I know. Can you believe it?
Can we boycott them? Can we never have another hamburger there?
It's already being done.
Okay, good.
But I'm participating in the boycott only because I just think that their burgers suck.
Really?
Yeah. Now,
But you're going to continue your boycott?
I am going to continue
That's how committed you
my
are.
boycott.
Wow.
Now I guess I could go the other way and just start eating there specifically because the left is boycotting.
Yes, you could.
But how could you do that when there's Whataburger?
I'm okay. That's where I was going. I'm going to boycott them just because I see what they're doing. They're pushing up on Whataburger is what they're trying to do.
What do you mean?
That's what this is all about. They're trying to, because they just moved into Texas, just a few years ago?
They did. They've been popping up here.
So now they're trying to push up on Whataburger.
So you'll be participating in the boycott as well.
Totally boycotting.
All right.
But can we also talk about how awful and much more superior In-N-Out and Whataburger are to Shake Shack? Is that even a thing?
All right, we'll take this into overtime.
Disagree with that.